Hello again, everybody, and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, October 25th, and time once again for the mailbag. I hope you guys have had a great week and a great weekend. Mine's been really good. I thought that I would follow up here just for a minute or two on some of the things I talked about on my video last week with my puppy. And by the way, speaking of the Tasmanian devils, they're quiet for now. They're in their little crate and hopefully snoozing away. So we'll see if we can maintain that. In the morning, actually by the time you're watching this, they will be at the vet getting spayed. Sorry girls, but it's that time. Anyway, at least for a short period, some peace and quiet around here, I think. But anyway, following up on some of that stuff from last week, I know a lot of you expressed some definite worry and concern about some things, opinions that I was having about the mailbag, concerns about the views and all of that. I have been really worried about the channel performance, and I know that things have slid quite a lot over the summer and the fall. It turned out to be a much busier, more eventful time for those months, for those couple of seasons here in my life. Generally, I had some house guests throughout the entire summer, which was wonderful to have, and they didn't really intrude upon my schedule a whole lot. But there is some of that, right? When you have other people and their energy around, and you're spending time with them and socializing, and it's fun times. And then I still had plenty of time to get some things done and some reading done and some material for the channel and all of that, but it was definitely impacted a bit by a whole lot of the things that, the reason that they were here in the first place. Just a whole bunch of stuff that was going on that I don't need to get into. And so, when I look at, my current, the way my channel has been performing lately, or should I say underperforming, and my concerns about that, concerns about growth, and the subs kind of stagnating, even though I always seem to be perpetually that close to 10,000, and I just can't get over the line. I have to look in the mirror, right? And, say, look, my productivity has just not been what it should be. And so for the past week, I was, looking at some ways in which to come up with a plan to improve that. I think that I have one. Basically, my plan going forward is, well, if there's a reason to do one next Monday, I will have a mailbag next Monday. But my plans henceforth with the mailbag are going to involve 2 a month. At the beginning of the month and the middle of the month. You're going to get 2 mailbags a month, which is not just me cutting back. It's actually cutting back because of the real world necessity. I don't know how much you guys have heard about all of this. It has been making the rounds on news and social media about the upcoming paper shortage, which is going to impact printing. This is a global thing. It all has to do with global supply chains slowing down right now because of, COVID, lack of labor, poor, the shipping right now is being impacted. A whole lot of stuff is going on. Basically, lumber production is down, which means paper production is down, which means printers, publishers aren't being able to print books at the volume that they used to. And that's very concerning, especially coming up for the holidays. So that's why, if you're planning on giving books as gifts for the holidays, and if you especially have new and upcoming books that you're looking forward to, get those pre-orders in. Those are vital. Those are extremely crucial, especially if you are interested in some books that might not be like the big hyped book, but are just cool books that look interesting to you. Because publishers, believe you me, they will prioritize, right? They're definitely going to put Stephen King and John Grisham and whoever the hot people are, in priority well above, just stuff by, Joe Blow science fiction writer, right? Stuff that's of interest to us. And, and of course, there's not going to be any cessation of the kind of shovelware books that you get also, like the cheesy self-help stuff and all this stuff from television celebrities, these vapid little, bios and what have you, right? I mean, yeah, okay, people want to read kind of celebrity books, what have you. It's their right. But, that stuff's going to get priority and not maybe some of the stuff that we, with our very specialized tastes, are interested in. So get those pre-orders in. That's going to really have an impact on the mailbags, I can tell you. For how long, I don't know. It's already hit Europe and the UK very hard, right? I from what I just read today online, the paper mills in Europe have pretty much already told the entire publishing industry, we're not going to have any paper anymore starting from now until at least the end of the year. So that's it, right? Hasn't hit America quite, to that extent just yet, but it's coming. Okay? So be aware. So 2 mailbags a month, and then what I'm going to be doing in those intervening 13 days, my goal is a minimum of 3, and hopefully as many as 4 to 5, either review videos or videos of interesting stuff, that pertain to the world of SFF, right? Just retro videos, sometimes little themed videos like the kinds of things I've done in the past, like, science fiction having to do with this topic or that, or from this particular era, or what have you. I feel like that is a good, solid production slate. And even if I do the bare minimum of that, compared to how all the things that have been impacting my life in the last 5-6 months have, had an impact on the channel, you're still going to be getting more content per month at that schedule than you have been since, at least, March or April, right? So, more reviews, more coverage of specific books, themed coverage, 2022 anticipated stuff, right? It's all coming. I've already got for this week a video uploaded and scheduled for tomorrow morning, a video uploaded and scheduled for Wednesday morning. So that's some of my post Armadillicon stuff with Marshall. And then, of course, this weekend now is going to be some Halloween coverage, some sort of horror things. It's going to run over into November, some of that, because there's just not enough time between now and then for me to do all of it on Halloween weekend. So horror stuff is going to trickle into November, but also science fiction content is going to be coming back really strong in November. And then I think in December, I'm going to pivot back to epic fantasy, because it's been a while since I have concentrated on epic fantasy. There have been some really big releases this year that I have been wanting to get my reviews up for you guys, so you can kind of hear my take on all these things, right? So that's how it's going to look, going forward. And I want to just sort of maintain that in perpetuity. And I'm easing into it because, it's like when you haven't exercised for a while and you're like, oh God, I don't want to go to the gym, or I don't want to start running or walking. I just don't feel like it. But then once you do it, you're like, I'm in the groove, and it's easier. It's all about just kind of getting yourself back into the space, right? And then once it becomes habit, not a problem. I'm trying to be very positive. Can you tell? Like Mr. Positive Reinforcement for Thomas, because I have a really bad habit and a bad personal history of hitting myself with the negative reinforcement, and I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be kinder to myself, be more of a friend to Thomas, more of a cheerleader, for me. Yeah. So anyway, thanks for enduring this little ramble, but I thought it was worth following up because I've, done a lot of thinking in the wake of that video. And those are my thoughts. Those are all my thinks. Okay. So now, on to the books this week, shall we? I have about maybe 5 or 6 physicals and maybe 7 or 8 eARCs. So let's get into them. So we're going to start with 2 packages that have come in from Tor Macmillan. All right, good way to start, you guys. This is the part where Thomas squeals like a girl. Well, not really. You can just imagine me doing that, because this is an arc for Dead Silence. The author is S.A. Barnes. This comes out early in 2022, in January, in fact, from Tor Nightfire. This is the kind of book that I have been hoping for and dreaming of for a very, very long time, and I am just, out there despairing why nobody was writing good, full-on space opera horror, right? Why aren't we getting any books like Event Horizon and stuff like that, right? Good scares on a spaceship story. Well, that's this, and I am thrilled to pieces. And in fact, I am going to try to get a review of this up by the weekend, if I can. But it says, as you see, a ghost ship, a salvage crew, unspeakable horrors. The 3 ingredients, that's all I need, right? So I'm going to read in a bit more detail. It says, Claire Kovalik is days away from being unemployed, made obsolete, when her beacon repair crew picks up a strange distress signal. Always the distress signal. General rule, in space, we've picked up a distress signal. Fly the other fucking direction. That's all you gotta know, right? It never ends well. But no, these crews never learn, do they? With nothing to lose and no desire to return to Earth, Claire and her team decide to investigate. What they find at the other end of the signal is shocking. The Aurora, a famous luxury space liner that vanished on its maiden tour of the solar system more than 20 years ago. A salvage claim like this could set Claire and her crew up for life, but a quick trip through the Aurora reveals something isn't right. Whispers in the dark, flickers of movement, words scrawled in blood. Claire must fight to hold on to her sanity and find out what really happened on the Aurora before she and her crew meet the same ghastly fate. See, like, even if you have to expect a certain degree of, all right, smart people wouldn't do this, right? But, you have to just accept that they will do it so you can have a story and have fun, right? Because, you go aboard a spaceship, even if you're dumb enough to, like, respond to the mysterious distress signal and go there, you get on that ship, the first time you see anything written in blood on the wall, bye. Bye, right? Don't care. Fine. Ghosts, monsters, whatever, you can have the ship. I'm out. But no, they're going to have to stay on board and go, that's peculiar. And then, get eaten or whatever happens. I love it. I can't wait for this. So, Dead Silence by S.A. Barnes from Tor Nightfire in January 2022. Okay, well, that book put me in a very good mood. Let's see about this one. And I'm very happy to see this. This is Along the Saltwise Sea by A. Deborah Baker, a.k.a. Shauna McGuire. This is the Up and Under Volume 2. This is the sequel to Over the Woodward Wall. And basically what these are tie-in novellas to her novel Middle Game. These are basically book within book kind of a thing, right? So it says, in this sequel to Over the Woodward Wall, our heroes Avery and Zib and their extraordinary friends continue their journey through the Up and Under. After staying the night uninvited at a pirate queen's cottage in the woods, the companions find themselves accountable to its owner and reluctantly agree to work off their debt as her ship sets sail, bound for lands unknown. But the queen and her crew are not the only ones on board, and the monsters at sea aren't all underwater. A companion series to Shauna McGuire's acclaimed novel Middle Game is perfect for both middle-grade readers and readers young at heart. Okay, and this one came out on the 12th of this month, so it's available now in hardcover from Tor.com Publishing. And next up, this one comes in from Del Rey Books. This is The Free Bastards. It's by Jonathan French, and it is the third book in a trilogy that began, I believe, with The Grey Bastards and some other kind of bastards. Yeah, The True Bastards. Okay, so it's all about bastards, I suppose. No. It's basically action-packed military kind of grimdark fantasy about this band of orcs who do what orcs do, which is wreaking havoc and having battles and things like that. I guess I don't really want to read much in the way of a synopsis because I don't wish to spoiler these things. But now that the entire trilogy is out, it's time to kind of give it a crack. I've got all of them, of course, but it's nice to have the whole series here in hardcover. So this one is available now in hardcover from Del Rey Books. Now, moving on down the line, I don't really know what this one is. It comes from Whitehurst and Clark. And, okay, I'm curious now. I have no idea what this one might be. Oh, my gosh. Oh, this is exciting. Okay, these are a couple of books coming in from an imprint called Lee and Low Books, whom I'd gotten some material from them years ago. Sadly, I kind of dropped out of touch with them. I lost my contact information for them. But it's nice to hear back from them, and they've sent me a couple of books in this package, the first of which is a new book by David Anthony Durham, whom some of you might remember as the author of an epic fantasy novel called Acacia, and several sequels to that, and then I think he did another historical fantasy. And this is his new book called The Shadow Prince, which is a middle grade. And it says it's a middle grade solar punk novel set in an alternative Egyptian universe. 12-year-old Ash must compete and survive to become the shadow and protector of the prince. And, David Anthony Durham was at ArmadilloCon. And I regret not just stopping by and say, hey, just pulling him aside and saying, hey, I just want to say, big admirer of yours, nice to meet you, so on and so forth. And I saw the book there. But yeah, so I regret not taking the opportunity to talk to him. Maybe next time. But anyway, yeah, let's see. This I'll just I'll just read the quick synopsis here. Growing up in a village in the middle of the Egyptian desert, Ash thinks his future holds nothing but sand, sun, a few annoying bullies, and lots of boring chores. Boy, is he wrong. On the night before his 12th birthday, Ash learns that he was born on the same day as Prince Khufu, which makes him eligible to compete to be the prince's shadow, a coveted position as the friend and bodyguard of the boy destined to be pharaoh of all Egypt. At first, Ash can't believe it, but when a floating royal barge takes Ash and his mentor to the bustling, magical, solar-powered capital, things get real. What awaits Ash and the candidates is deadly. 5 days of dangerous tests filled with demon fighting, monster slaying, and magical spells, each overseen by a different Egyptian god. Ash finds two friends willing to fight by his side, the first friends he's ever made. But there are candidates who will lie, cheat, and even harm others to win. Not all will survive, and only one can become the prince's shadow. To make matters worse, Ash is up against Lord Set, the devious god of chaos, who is secretly working to make the candidates fail. But if they do, the very survival of the kingdom is in peril. Can Ash and his new friends save Egypt? And will any of them survive to become the Shadow Prince? So there it is, Shadow Prince by David Anthony Durham, and I believe available now from two books, TU Books, which is a Lee and Low young adult middle grade imprint. I don't usually take much of an interest in middle grade or kids books, but that could be an exception because that sounds like a lot of fun. Now this next one is something called Clockwork Kurandera, Volume 1, The Witch Owl Parliament. Okay? And it looks to be, for all the world, it is. It's a graphic novel in sort of like a duo color thing. It's kind of red and, black and white with and red all over. Pretty neat. Okay, it says dead, resurrected, reviled. But Cristina Franco is all that stands between the people of Santander and destruction. I'll give you another good look at the cover here. And then I'll read the flap. Okay. As you know, I'm not really a guy who covers graphic novels, but I'm happy to make this one aware to you because it says, discover graphic novel unlike any other, a brilliant steampunk reimagining of, Frankenstein, set in colonial Mexico. Okay. In the Republic of Santander, non-Christian magic is frowned upon, if not outright prohibited. But when Cristina Franco, an apprentice shaman, is killed by witch owls, her brother Enrique cannot let her go. With forbidden alchemy and engineering, Enrique brings her back to life, part human, part machine. Though her very existence is an abomination to Santander's citizens, Cristina vows to use her new abilities to protect her country from attack. With help from a handsome skinwalker named Mateo, Cristina and Enrique track down the Witch Owl Coven and uncover a sinister plot to bring Santander under the rule of the Witch Owl Parliament. This sounds cool. I'm not going to lie. Me, not a graphic novel person, but this sounds fun. Anyway, the Witch Owl Parliament, whose legendary cruelty would dismantle the country's hard-won freedoms. At the same time, indigenous folks and immigrants are disappearing from Santander, including Enrique's beloved Gaspar. Could the attacks and disappearances be related? As the witch owls attack, more trains and more refugees go missing. The trio must uncover the witch owls' origins to understand their weakness. Energetic illustrations by Pura Belpré Award winner Raoul III bring to life the words of award-winning author and poet David Bowles. Don't miss this amazing first volume of the Clockwork Kurandera trilogy. Damn. All right. Well, there you go then. Clockwork Kurandera. And I guess it is available either now. Let's see. Is there a date on here? Is it just saying anything different? They're all indicating that they're available now because they're not giving me a future date of any kind. So there you are. Witch Owl Parliament, Volume 1. Just going to give you a quick gander of a couple of these pages here. I tell you, this week's physicals have been on fire, you guys. Last physical package, and this one comes in from the fine folks at Random Penguin. And this is a nice one to wrap up the physicals this week with. It is Child of Light. This is a new book by Terry Brooks, creator of the Infinite Shannara series of novels. This is, the first in an all-new fantasy series about a human girl struggling to find her place in a magical world she's never known. This came out on the 12th of this month, so available now in hardcover from Del Rey. It says, at 19, Oris Afton Grieg has led an unusual life. Since the age of 15, she's been trapped in a sinister prison. Why? She does not know. She has no memories of her past beyond the vaguest impressions. All she knows is that she's about to age out of the children's prison, and rumors say that the adult version is far, far worse. So, she and some friends stage a desperate escape into the surrounding wastelands. And it is here that Oris's journey of discovery begins, for she is rescued by an unusual stranger who claims to be Fae, a member of a magical race that Oris had thought to be no more than legend. Odder still, he seems to think that she is one as well, although the two look nothing alike. But strangest of all, when he brings her to his wondrous homeland, she begins to suspect that he is right. Yet how could a woman who looks entirely human be a magical being herself? Told with a fresh, energetic voice, this fantasy puzzle box is perfect for fans of Terry Brooks and new readers alike, as one young woman slowly unlocks truths about herself and her world, and in doing so begins to heal both. And this is available now, Child of Light by Terry Brooks, from Del Rey in hardcover. Okay, now on to this week's eARC. I have 7 of them, and we're starting with a bunch of January titles, so all of these are going to be 2022 releases. Beginning with The Unfamiliar Garden by Benjamin Percy. Now, this is the sequel to The Ninth Metal. It's the second book in his Comet Cycle trilogy. Essentially, what's happening here is the Earth has, I believe, passed through a comet's tail, or what have you, and as a result of that, things have happened, right? So this one goes, the night the sky fell, Jack and Nora Abernathy's daughter vanished in the woods, and Mia's disappearance broke her parents' already fragile marriage. Unable to solve her own daughter's case, Nora lost herself in her work as a homicide detective. Jack became a shell of a man, his promising career as a biologist crumbling alongside the meteor strikes that altered weather patterns and caused a massive drought. It isn't until 5 years later that the rains finally return to nourish Seattle. In this period of sudden growth, Jack uncovers evidence of a new parasitic fungus, while Nora investigates several brutal ritualistic murders. Soon they will be drawn together by a horrifying connection between their discoveries, partnering to fight a deadly contagion as well as the government forces that know the truth about the fate of their daughter. Award-winning author Benjamin Percy delivers both a gripping science fiction thriller and a dazzling examination of a planet and a marriage that have broken. And that's The Unfamiliar Garden on January the 5th. Now, moving ahead to January 11th, we have what looks like a new epic fantasy from Daw Books. This is The Amber Crown by J.C. Bedford. J.C. Bedford is an author who has done at least a couple of trilogies for Daw before, one of which was kind of a fae fantasy, and the other of which was space opera, actually. And now this looks to be a large-scale epic fantasy. This one goes, the king is dead, his queen is missing. On the Amber Coast, the usurper king is driving Zavonia to the brink of war. A dangerous magical power is rising up in Biela Miasto, and the only people who can set things right are a failed bodyguard, a landstrider witch, and the assassin who set off the whole sorry chain of events. Valdis, captain of the High Guard, has not only failed in his duty to protect the king, but he's been accused of the murder, and he's on the run. He's sworn to seek justice, but his king sets him another task from beyond the grave. Valdis doesn't know. Okay, so I guess Hamlet-like, maybe, except not the sun, but anyway. Valdis doesn't believe in magic, which is unfortunate, as it turns out. Mirza is the healer witch of a Landstrider band, valued and feared in equal measure for her witch mark, her scolding tongue, and her ability to walk the spirit world. When she's given a task by Valdis's dead king, she believes that the journey she must take is one she can never return from. Lind is the clever assassin. Yes, someone paid him to kill the king, but who is to blame, the weapon or the power behind it? Lind must face his traumatic past if he's to have a future. Can these three discover the real villain, find the queen, and set the rightful king on the throne before the country is overcome? Well, you'll find out on January the 11th, in The Amber Crown by J.C. Bedford. That's from Daw Books. Now, next up we have one, this is interesting, new book from Cassandra Rose Clark. This author is not to be confused with Cassandra Clare, okay? Cassandra Rose Clark, who's done, she just does exclusively adult fantasies, and this is a new one called The Beholden, on January the 18th. Orphaned as a young woman, Celestia and Izara de Milena find themselves land-rich but destitute. With only a failing rainforest acreage, Celestia's perfect manners, and Azara's nascent magic to their aristocratic names. With the last of their money running out, they enact a dangerous plan. Using a spell she doesn't fully understand, Izara summons the Lady of the Seraphine and demands a favor. A husband for Celestia, one rich enough to enable the Demolina sisters to keep their land. But a favor from the river goddess always comes at a cost. Gorgeous, compelling, and utterly captivating, The Beholden follows Celestia and Izara as they journey from the lush rainforest to a frozen desert on an impossible quest to find a god who doesn't want to be found and prevent the end of the world. Okay, so it sounds like things really kind of escalate from there. So that is The Beholden on January the 18th. Okay, moving ahead, we have a book. This one looks neat. This is a book called A River Enchanted. The author is Rebecca Ross. Apparently, she is already established as a YA author, and this is her first adult novel. It comes out on February the 15th, and it's the first book in a new series called Elements of Cadence. And it goes like this. Jack Tamerlane hasn't stepped foot on Cadence in 10 long years, content to study music at the mainland university. But when young girls start disappearing from the Isle, Jack is summoned home to help find them. Enchantments run deep on Cadence, gossip is carried by the wind, plaid shawls can be as strong as armor, and the smallest cut of a knife can instill fathomless fear. The capricious spirits that rule the Isle by fire, water, earth, and wind find mirth in the lives of humans who call the land home. Adara, heiress of the East and Jack's childhood enemy. No, who has childhood enemies? That's funny. Anyway, I guess Jack does. Anyway, Adara knows the spirits only answer to a bard's music, and she hopes Jack can draw them forth by song, enticing them to return the missing girls. As Jack and Adara reluctantly work together, they find they make better allies than rivals, as their partnership turns into something more. But with each passing song, it becomes apparent the trouble with the spirits is far more sinister than they first expected, and an older, darker secret about Cadence lurks beneath the surface, threatening to undo them all. And that's A River Enchanted on February the 15th. Okay, science fiction fans, we're not leaving you behind here. On February the 22nd, we have The Misfit Soldier. This is a new book by Michael Mamey, who wrote the Planetside trilogy. This one is a new military SF described as Ocean's 11 meets John Scalzi, in this funny, action-filled, standalone sci-fi adventure from the author of Planetside, in which a small team of misfit soldiers takes on a mission that could change the entire galaxy. Sergeant Gastovsky, gas to everyone but his superior officers, never wanted to be a soldier. Far from it, but when a con goes wrong and he needs a place to lay low for a while, he finds himself wearing the power armor of the augmented infantry. After 3 years on a 6-year contract, Gas has found his groove running low-level cons and various illegal activities that make him good money on the side. He's the guy who can get you what you need. But he's always had his eye out for a big score, the one that might set him up for life after the military. When one of his soldiers is left behind after a seemingly pointless battle, Gas sees his chance. He assembles a team of misfit soldiers that would push the term ragtag to its limits for a big con that leads them on a daring behind-the-lines mission, pitting him not only against enemy soldiers, but against the top brass of his own organization. If he pulls this off, not only will he save his squad mate, he may just become the legend he's always considered himself. He might also change the way the entire galaxy looks at this war. But for any of that to happen, he has to live through this insane plan, and charm rarely stops bullets. Okay, that sounds fun. Every once in a while, I like the whole idea of the hero who does heroic things because he's not especially heroic. It's just in his own best interests, but he does them anyway. So I guess, what chaotic good that would be? Whatever. Anyway, Misfit Soldier on February the 22nd. Just imagine, 2/22/22. The release date for that. That's, something you'll never be able to say again as long as you live, if you have a book coming out that day. So, good job. All right. Last two here. This is called West Side Lights. It's by W.M. Akers. It comes out on March the 8th. And this is the third book by Akers in his trilogy about West Side. It's a Jazz Age fantasy series, and it says it's set in the dangerous west side of New York City. following private detective Gilda Carr's hunt for the truth, one tiny mystery at a time. According to Amazon, the actual title of this series is Gilda Carr's Tiny Mysteries. But you could just as easily call it West Side. The west side of Manhattan is desolate, overgrown, and dangerous, and Gilda Carr wouldn't have it any other way. An eccentric detective whose pursuit of tiny mysteries has dragged her to the brink of madness, Gilda spends 1923 searching for something that's eluded her for years: peace. On the revitalized waterfront of the Lower West, Gilda and the gregarious ex-gangster Cherub Stevens start a new life on a stolen yacht. But their old life isn't done with them just yet. 8 people have been slaughtered on the deck of the Misery Queen, and Cherub is among the dead. Gilda, naturally, is the prime suspect. Hunted by the police, the mob, and everyone in between, she must stay free long enough to find the person who stained the Hudson with her beloved's blood. She will discover that on her west side, no lights are bright enough to drive away the darkness. And that is West Side Lights on March the 8th. And finally, on April 5th, we have this book here, The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. It's the first book in a duology. It says, blending fantasy and science fiction. N.E. Davenport's fast-paced, action-packed debut kicks off a duology of loyalty and rebellion, in which a young black woman must survive deadly trials in a racist, misogynistic society to become an elite warrior. With her grandfather assassinated, Akenna knows 2 things: that only someone on the tribunal could have ordered his death, and that only a Praetorian guard could have carried out that order. Bent on revenge as much as discovering the truth, Akenna pledges herself to the Praetorian trials, a brutal initiation that only a quarter of the aspirants survive. She subjects herself to the racism directed against her half-Canaan heritage and the misogyny of a society that cherishes progeny over prodigy, all while hiding a power that, if found out, would subject her to execution, or worse. Akenna is willing to risk it all because she needs to find out who murdered her grandfather, and then she needs to kill them. Magic and technology converge in the first part of this stunning debut duology, where loyalty to oneself and one's blood is more important than anything. And that is The Blood Trials by N.E. Davenport. That's coming out April the 5th of next year. And there you have it. You guys know the drill. Line up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, please hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe. That is how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Wink's Army get little perks, like getting some of my videos early access when I'm able to finish them in time. I want to thank all of those wonderful people for their added support. Got a new Patreon this week. Thank you so much. I used the Patreon money to pay Matt Olson, my very, very gifted channel artist, for all the beautiful thumbnails that he does for me. So all of your additional help is greatly appreciated. I want to thank all the rest of you guys for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube. And until I see all of you next time, please stay safe and healthy and happy reading.